Hello, my name is James from jamesandelonapowell.com. This is the first in a series of videos I'll be giving in which I talk about the spirit world and science. The purpose of my giving these videos is first as a response to True Mother's recent call for people with brains. I'm not saying I'm particularly brainy, it's just that I've not met anyone who's been thinking these things which I'll be presenting, and I would like to open this discussion. The second point is that I've reached a stage in my research where I'm dealing with a lot of information and I need your help. I need more hearts and brains on the job. It doesn't matter if you've received a formal education or not. I haven't. If you are inspired or you understand anything which I talk about in these videos, please contact me by leaving a comment on YouTube or in our Facebook page, James and Elona Powell, or by private messaging us so that we can advance these theories if they are true. And if you are new to the Divine Principle, I recommend you read it. I'll put a link in the description below. You can search online, Exposition of the Divine Principle, and there's a series on YouTube called Word for Word Divine Principle. I highly recommend you read that in order to understand these videos properly. And if you are not new to the Divine Principle, don't worry, I'm not trying to make a new thought system. I'm simply exploring the principle in more depth and more detail. So I'd like to introduce you to the main topics that I'll be discussing in these videos. The first is regarding God's dual characteristics. This is concerning the first section in the Divine Principle that describes the fundamental characteristics of the entire creation, and that they are a manifestation of the dual characteristics within God, namely subject partner and object partner manifested at different levels. So again, if you don't understand that, I recommend you read the Divine Principle, at least the first section, so you can understand what that means. So in 2010, I was inspired with a question about the dual characteristics. I imagined that there might be a particular formula that describes their interaction, much like E equals mc squared describes some forces within the creation. So I figured, why not for these dual characteristics? If they exist as substantial entities, then they must have some formula by which we can understand them. Okay, so the purpose for understanding this in more detail is that it would enable us to understand the proper relationship between our mind and body, between husband and wife, between parents and children, so we can understand and have better relationships. The second benefit that I can see from understanding a ratio of the dual characteristics is that in order to develop some technology involving these dual characteristics, such as a spirit world machine that enables even spiritually closed people to perceive the spirit world, you would need to understand the interaction of the forces between the two worlds, in that the spirit world is in the subject position and the physical world in the object partner position. The second topic I'll be talking about in another video is about vitality elements and living spirit elements. Again, if you're not familiar with this terminology, please read the Divine Principle. It's in section 6 of the Principle of Creation. And the principle describes that vitality elements are sent from the physical body based on your actions to your spirit body and helps your spirit become good or evil according to your physical actions. So I thought if these vitality elements are produced by the physical body, then they must be measurable. There must be a physiological phenomena that we can measure. And in the next video, I'll be describing what I think potentially are vitality elements. One of the benefits that I can see in understanding and being able to demonstrate scientifically the existence and function of vitality elements is that it gives people an actual reason to live an actually good life. The third topic I'll be talking about in a later video is regarding the original lineage and the human fall. The lineage is probably the most central teaching of true parents. They talk about how human beings were originally connected to God, but then disconnected from God and became connected to another being instead. This has been quite a vague concept among Unificationists. Like, what is the lineage? What is the original sin? How is it removed? Okay, a lot of people treat it as some kind of spiritual phenomena, But true parents and the principle clearly describe that there are two types of phenomena, that there are two types of salvation. The first is spiritual, which is possible through Jesus, spiritual salvation, but the physical sin has remained within human beings. So again, as with the vitality elements, I think this should be a physiological phenomena that could be measured. And now there are a few benefits that I can see from being able to measure the original sin. The first is in being able to demonstrate the actual difference between people in the fallen lineage and those in the original lineage after having the original sin removed. Another benefit I can see from being able to measure the removal of the original sin from the lineage is that we would be able to determine whether or not a blessing given by a particular group of people is actually true or not. Now there are groups of people today who claim to be giving the blessing in place of true parents, and that causes a lot of confusion for many people, particularly those who cannot spiritually perceive the difference. But if we had a system by which we could test the lineage to see if the so-called blessing actually does remove the original sin, then there would no longer be any confusion. Another topic I would like to talk about is the spirit world machine or device. True parents have mentioned this a few times, and in fact many people have tried to create such a device that enables even physically open or spiritually closed people to perceive the spirit world, either audibly or visually or a mix of all senses. Physical instruments are not directly sensitive to the spirit world, so we need to find out the actual element within the creation that is, and utilize that in order to create some technology that allows us to do this. So one benefit of having such a device is that it would, if we had access to the knowledge in the spirit world, which transcends time and space, we would be able to advance science and technology on the earth. And this would totally revolutionize culture and society as we know it. Another benefit of having such a device, though not from the perspective of actually many people, is that it would make religions obsolete. We would no longer need to believe in God if we had a device that would enable us to experience spiritual phenomena. And from the unificationist perspective, that's actually a good thing, because religions are simply a training ground that helps us get back to the original starting point. If we consider the word religion, it comes from the Latin religo, meaning to reconnect. So if religions fulfill their purpose, we don't need religion anymore. And I think such a device would speed that process up. So before I begin, I'd like to introduce you to a science organization that I've made, and through which I'm already relating with people around the world regarding this kind of content, albeit privately until now, but now is much more public. It's called STARS, and means Sincerity and Truth for the Advancement of Revolutionary Science. This group has three purposes. The first is to prove through science that God exists. This might sound like quite a big challenge, but it would be possible given that we fulfill the other purposes. Two, to discover the actual connection between the spirit world and the physical world. Discovering this connection, for example, would enable us to create technology that allows us to perceive the spirit world without being spiritually open. The principle describes that the human being is the center of the spirit world and the physical world. It describes that the two worlds don't directly interact, but do so through human beings. It also describes that God has no direct relationship with the creation, and that God has a relationship with the creation through human beings. But what is the element within the human being that is the center of the spirit world and physical world? Is it the entire body, a particular organ, or a particular cell? Now we need to look at this in more detail, and I'll be discussing my findings in a later video, and will be inviting you to give your feedback. The third point is to revolutionize the current scientific world viewpoint, which by fulfilling the 2 points we would inevitably do anyway. So the first question and the topic of this video is, what is the ratio of subject-partner to object-partner within each of the dual characteristics within God? I first thought of this question in 2010, and I spent a lot of time, several months, thinking about this, praying about it, studying principle and science, and really asking God for an answer. It's based on the first section of the principle textbook, the dual characteristics of God and the created universe, and I'll read some sections right now. Every entity possesses dual characteristics of yang, masculinity, and yin, femininity, and comes into existence only when these characteristics have formed reciprocal relationships both within the entity and between it and other entities. However, there is another pair of dual characteristics in reciprocal relationship, which are even more fundamental to existence than the dual characteristics of yang and yin. Every entity possesses both an outer form and an inner quality. The visible outer form resembles the invisible inner quality. The inner quality, though invisible, possesses a certain structure which is manifested visibly in the particular outer form. So this describes that on one level there are the dual characteristics of yang and yin, and on a more fundamental level the dual characteristics of internal nature and external form. Probing deeper still, we search for the ultimate cause which brought this energy, with its elements of internal nature and external form, into existence. This being would be the first cause of all the myriad things in the universe. As the first cause, it must also possess the dual characteristics of internal nature and external form, which stand in the position of subject-partner to the internal natures and external forms of all beings. We call this first cause of the universe God, and we call God's internal nature and external form the original internal nature and original external form. God is the first cause of the universe and its subject partner, having the harmonious dual characteristics of original internal nature and original external form. In summary, God is the subject, in whom the dual characteristics of original internal nature and original external form are in harmony. At the same time, God is a harmonious union of masculinity and femininity, which manifest the qualities of original internal nature and original external form. In relation to the universe, God is the subject partner having the qualities of internal nature and masculinity. So this is a good way to understand the reason why people have traditionally referred to God as a masculine being, an invisible masculine entity, and why people refer to this external visible world as Mother Nature, a feminine entity. It's simply in terms of their positions, in terms of the relationship between God, subject partner, and the creation object partner. So, what is potentially the ratio of subject partner to object partner within each of the dual characteristics within God? Subject partner value 1 is the same as object partner multiplied by phi. If you're not familiar with phi, it is 1.618, the golden ratio. So how did I come up with this equation? As I mentioned earlier, I had been studying and praying for several months to find an answer to this question, and though I'm not declaring it as fact, I'm putting it out there so people can test it and see if it could be true or maybe it's not. The moment I wrote this equation was actually a moment of tears, and you might find this a little bit strange, depends, but I was walking through a university campus while I was volunteering in Korea for a few months, and off the coach came a number of students and many girls who were wearing very high skirts, mini skirts, and tops that came down very low. And when I saw that, I immediately started crying uncontrollably, with this deep awareness that they were violating all the principled numbers of the universe. Now, this is not really something that might make sense to most people. And for me at that time, it was a new experience as well, and was much more than an opinion, and it was so overwhelming that I needed to take time to sit down, and when I did, I wrote this equation. And so from then, I decided to do more research to find out if this could be true or not. So here are some examples regarding the golden ratio in the world around us. There's architecture such as the pyramid, and modern architecture, the United Nations, is a golden rectangle. We have art. Many famous artists throughout history and in the modern age utilize the golden ratio in their artwork. We have the Nautilus shell. We see this golden ratio throughout nature. We have plants, animals, and even the human ear is a golden ratio. And we have particles, which when smashed produce patterns in the form of golden spirals. We also have the human DNA, and we have galaxy formations, which are in the shape of golden spirals. And this square donut shape image is of stars which emit light at a frequency corresponding to the golden ratio. And here with a straight line example, we can understand the relationship of subject partner and object partner. In this example, A would be subject partner because it's the larger proportion, and B would be the object partner. And so A plus B is A as A is to B. So if we replace A with subject partner and B with object partner, then we could say subject partner plus object partner is to subject partner as subject partner is to object partner. And we simply replace A and B with subject partner and object partner, or SP and OP. Here we can see this in the formation of a golden rectangle, in which there's also a golden spiral. The length is A and the height is B. It's the same pattern, just using principal terminology. God is the first cause of the entire universe and its subject partner, having the harmonious dual characteristics of original internal nature and original external form. Okay, so here we have original internal nature and original external form, or a diagram of it. The original internal nature is in the position of subject partner to the original external form, which is object partner. And here's the ratio. Subject partner value 1 is the same as object partner multiplied by phi. I need to note that this ratio describes the whole, describes the union of subject and object partner together, and it beautifully describes the dependency upon the object partner for the existence of the subject partner. And I feel this beautifully reflects true parents' teaching that love starts from the object partner, that without the object partner, the subject partner could not experience the joy of love. That's why God created us as his object partners. So here are subject partner and object partner as distinct entities. And to get the proportion of object partner within God, we could simply divide 1 by phi. If we consider that God is 1, so we start with 1, divided by phi, and we get the object partner. In much the same way as with the golden rectangle, to get the smaller proportion, you simply divide the larger proportion by phi. So then, to get the proportion of the subject partner, the original internal nature, we would need to calculate what is remaining after having taken out the proportion of object partner resulting from the division of 1. Okay, so this means the proportion of subject partner is equal to 1 minus 1 divided by phi. There is a lot of math online that you can study about 1 divided by phi. Okay, so we've described the hierarchical relationship of dividing 1 by phi and then finding the remaining proportion of subject partner. But horizontally between these subject partner and object partner, the internal nature and external form, the relationship between them is the same as that within a harmonized being. So that would be subject partner value 1 is the same as object partner multiplied by phi. Okay, next, God's original internal nature and original external form each contain the mutual relationship of original yang and original yin. Therefore, original yang and original yin are attributes of original internal nature and original external form. So this describes that original yang and original yin are on a different level or different dimension to the dual characteristics of original internal nature and original external form. And if you study unification thought, which is much more in-depth principle, this also describes this phenomenon very clearly. It says that they are on a different dimension. So I will refer to yang and yin within each of the internal nature and external form of God as second-dimensional subject and object partners, or second-dimensional dual characteristics. And I'll refer to the original internal nature and original external form as the first-dimensional subject-object partners, or dual characteristics. Okay, so we'll start with the object partner. To find the proportion of the object partner, which is yin, within the original external form of God, we simply divide by phi again. So the resulting equation is original external form yin is the same as 1 divided by phi divided by phi. This can also be expressed as original external form yin is the same as original external form divided by phi. Or the greater object partner's lesser object partner is the same as the greater object partner divided by phi. So as with the original internal nature, the first dimensional subject partner, to find the proportion of second dimensional subject partner within the first dimensional object partner, that is, to find the proportion of yang within the original external form of God, we need to look at what is remaining after having divided the original external form or first dimensional object partner by phi. So this can be described as original external form yang is the same as 1 minus 1 divided by phi divided by phi. It can also be described as original external form yang is the same as 1 minus original external form minus original external form yin. Or the greater object partner's lesser subject partner is the same as the greater object partner minus the greater object partner's lesser object partner. So we've described the hierarchical relationship between the greater object partner, the first dimensional object partner, the original external form, and its lesser object partner, or the second dimensional object partner, which is yin within the original external form. And I think this kind of resembles the relationship of mother, daughter, granddaughter, and so on, in transferring the mitochondrial DNA through the lineage. But horizontally between them, as in the first dimensional dual characteristics, we have the same relationship. The subject partner value 1, which would be the lesser subject partner, value 1 is the same as the object partner or lesser object partner multiplied by phi. So horizontally they share the same proportion as the first dimensional dual characteristics do. This can also be described as the greater object partner's lesser subject partner is the same as the greater object partner's lesser object partner multiplied by phi. So now we're looking at the second dimensional dual characteristics within the original internal nature of God, which is yang and yin within the original internal nature. And so to get the proportion of yin within the original internal nature, we simply divide that proportion by phi. So we end up with original internal nature yin is the same as 1 minus 1 divided by phi divided by phi. Or original internal nature yin is the same as 1 minus original external form divided by phi. It can also be described as the greater subject partner's lesser object partner is the same as 1 minus the greater object partner divided by phi. And so to get the proportion of yang within the original internal nature of God, we calculate what is remaining after having divided the original internal nature by phi. And that means we get original internal nature yang is the same as 1 minus 1 minus 1 divided by phi divided by phi. That can also be described as original internal nature yang is the same as 1 minus 1 minus original external form divided by phi, or the greater subject partner's lesser subject partner is the same as 1 minus the greater object partner minus the greater subject partner's lesser object partner. So we described the hierarchical relationship, the vertical relationship there as well, and again between them horizontally on the same level, same dimension. The proportions are the same as in the first dimensional subject and object partners, which is subject partner value 1, the same as object partner multiplied by phi, or in this case, the greater subject partner's lesser subject partner is the same as the greater subject partner's lesser object partner multiplied by phi. Okay, so that is the end of this video, and please take care and speak with you next time.